I'm Donna Rasmussen. I'm with the Fillmore Soil and Water Conservation District in Preston. I've been with Fillmore County since 1991. I started out as the County Water Plan Coordinator back then. And 6 years ago, I was hired by the SWCD as the administrator. The Root River Citizens Conversation was an attempt to get more meaningful input into a comprehensive strategy for the Root River, what's now being called the Watershed Restoration and Protection Strategy. There is no formal organization within the Root River. There's no joint powers board or nonprofit group that kind of looks at the overall watershed and what's going on there. So we didn't really have that basis to work from, and we wanted good citizen participation in developing a plan for the Root River, especially in addressing impairments in water quality. The first step really was to work with Extension to develop a plan of how we were going to approach this. And our first outreach or attempt was to get a citizens group formed, was to go to many communities in our watershed. I think we had presentations for about a dozen different groups, Lions, Rotary Club, Kiwanis, those types of groups, going to them and telling about what we were doing, getting to the point of them understanding, well, why do we need to do this? Everyone wants clean water, so just making that realization real, I guess. So we did that and put out a plea. We want to form this citizen group to guide this process, and out of that we came up with about 20 people that expressed interest, and that kind of whittled down to about 12 people. That was a core group of people that started meeting in May of 2012, and over about the course of a year, or a little less than a year, the extension staff started working with them in developing civic engagement skills, things like meeting facilitation, leadership, and dealing with difficult behavior, things like that, so that they were kind of a core group of people that would take the message out to their own communities or to other communities. In between March and May of 2013, we had 7 citizen conversations that were held throughout the watershed, and there were about 150 people that attended these events. And the citizen group members worked in pairs and led and convened these meetings. And we used a process called context mapping, which was, it really forced people to talk to each other. And some people weren't real comfortable with that. They were coming prepared either to have information just presented to them and sit and listen, or some, I think, came thinking they were going to have a forum for their own agenda or own issues that they would, talk mainly about to a whole group. But it used a one-on-one process where people paired up with a partner. We had 4 questions that we developed, and on each question they had a different partner. And each of them had their own flip chart sheet that they divided into 4 quadrants for each question. And their partner would ask them a question and then record the results or their answers on their own sheet. And so their sheets went around. And then after everyone had done that with 4 different partners, then we had 4 groups of people that each took a question and then went around and developed common themes from the question they were to analyze. And those themes were then shared back with the larger group. And that was kind of the beginning of us understanding, okay, what do people know about water quality in the watershed? What are some of the challenges that are out there that are keeping people from taking action to improve water quality? What are some of the actions that are needed? and then what's some information or resources that people could use to help them take action. So, and that was to help us in the next stage of our strategy development, was to take that information and say, okay, we have this type of impairment in the watershed. What is the strategy that would be most effective here? What's the action that we should be taking? Well, if we hadn't done this, I guess we would have probably gone more the informational route, presenting information about the impairments in the watershed, what we felt were the strategies that would be used to address those impairments. I think we would have tried to do some sort of, feedback mechanism for people that attended, but I think just having the training was very important, and it was especially important to have citizens doing that. That it wasn't coming just from agency people or people in government, that these were people in the community that really cared about what they were what the issue was, and they wanted to do something, and they wanted to motivate their fellow citizens to do that too. Well, I think the biggest payoff is that it's long-term and more sustainable, that you're building a network of people out in the community that understand the issue and that care about it and have been empowered in a way to take action on their own. They don't have to wait for a government agency or some sort of help from the outside, that they have that ability within their own community to do that. And we did a follow-up round of citizen conversations in this past June, and although they weren't as well attended, I think the benefit was that it brought it back to, okay, what are our local resources and assets that we can draw from? We know now what we need to do, what needs to be put on the landscape. Now it's how do we do that? And that's going to be very important to us in developing a watershed implementation plan, because that's the how. We have I think we have a general, most people have a general understanding of what the main issues are that are creating the problems in our water bodies. It's the how. How do we pull people together and make us realize that it's a non-point source pollution problem. It doesn't come down to one or two or three entities doing this. It's everybody's responsibility, and everybody can have an impact, and it's doable. It doesn't have to be a large effort. It can be the result of cumulative actions on the part of individuals. Well, probably the most important thing is to utilize the expertise around you. Through the cohort that we've formed here in the Southeast, there are a lot of people that have that training now and understand what true civic engagement looks like and how it can be done. The other thing is to be very clear on your goals and your purpose, that you have that set out before you. And that the people that you are engaging understand that too. That we tried to be very clear that we're only asking you to come to this one event and provide us with this type of feedback. We weren't asking them to commit to another 6 meetings or anything like that. That was very important, I think, that they realized, well, we can come, we can share our opinions, and we can go. And if there is a desire to do more, that door was obviously open, not just to work with the citizens group, but maybe they wanted to be a rain gauge monitor, or maybe they wanted to be a stream monitor, things like that were out there for people to continue if they wanted to, but we wanted to make sure that they understood that we're only asking for a one-time commitment for them to help us, I guess.